Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 264, and today we're doing battle with Udyr Vayne. And so, as this format has kind of shaped up a little bit, we've had some nerfs over the past few days. Aatrox and Vayne caught nerfs, the Dark and Aegis caught a nerf, the Back Alley Bar caught a nerf, and then Ruined Reckoner or whatever the Noxian Overwhelm guy that makes it so you can't block. He was nerfed as well. And so what we've kind of seen is the Seraphine Back Alley Bar decks have been kind of wiped out. I suspect they're going to come back. It just takes a little bit of time to figure out how to properly assemble a control deck. But as it stands right now, we aren't seeing too much Seraphine. But the big thing is that Aatrox has been kind of pushed into the corner. Aatrox was the one that was really kind of limiting the power of the aggro decks in the format, as you had so many angles you had to deal with between the early game like Scouty challengers with quick attack, and then that getting a bunch of 2-for-1s, and if you finally deal with it, then you have to deal with Aatrox gaining a bunch of health. It was just like a real nightmare for any kind of mid-rangey style deck to live in. Because Aatrox took such good control over it. And so what we're really seeing a ton of right now is there's a bunch of Jinx Lulu, a bunch of Discard Jinx, and then there's a bunch of Pirates. Those really aggressively oriented either Noxus and PNZ decks are really kind of running the show right now. And that's what you, kind of see as soon as a new meta comes forth. The aggro decks are always going to be better than the decks that take a little bit more of a reactive approach. And then kind of B, that mid-game powerhouse that was Aatrox has been kind of removed from the format a little bit, giving us a place for things like Pirates to shine. And so with that kind of like background in mind, that does bring me to an interesting place here with the likes of Udyr Vayne. The card I'm really interested in this format right now is Ranger Knight Defector. It's always been kind of strong, but you're going to be seeing us play this over the next few videos most likely. I'm very happy with this still with Vayne. There's just so many good combos with Vayne between the equipments and the tumbles and the Knight Defector, and getting kind of double usage out of things like the Darkened Spear. I'm just all around extremely happy with this unit right now, and we're looking to kind of come in and take advantage of this. This is like the last cultist that hasn't been nerfed. It's like everything else in the cultist package has been nerfed between the elusive guy and the frostbite thing, and now with all these new champion things, but the Ranger Knight Defector is the card I'm looking to really play around here. And so kind of like piece A with this deck is we have good usage out of the Tumble from Vayne, along with the strike effects that we have from Night Ranger Defector, to where it can give us the attack token on the opposing turn. Also ties nicely in with the usage of Udyr and the strike, since every time he gets to attack, we get a little bit more of an advantage. And so piece kind of one with this deck is we're looking to take advantage of this really strong cycle, right? We have all of the strikes between Fishfight, Cataclysm, and Condemn. We have Vayne giving us additional strike cards in the Tumble, and then all of those strikes and the Tumbles tie in quite nicely with our Ranger Knights and with our Udyrs. Now, the second thing there was where we were talking about how all of those aggro decks are currently living in the format. The thing with all of the aggro decks right now is they tend to have just an absolute ton of 1 health units. I was seeing them on the Noxan side play the Crimson Pigeon, or the Crimson Bird, whatever that thing is called. That tends to leave the opponent with just a bunch of 1 health units. And then the Jinx decks all have things like Boom Baboon and Jury Rig and the various summoned Poros that all have 1 health. That gives us a pretty powerful usage out of the stance swaps from Udyr, just a really high-powered collection of abilities out of these stance swaps, whether or not we're going to be AoEing our opponent's small boards, if we're going to take the regenerate and put it on things like Petricite Broadwing, or just lets us really generate these nice, big, and powerful boards, and we don't have to worry as much about Aatrox just being like, LOL, I'm bigger than you, right? I'm doing the same kind of mid-range strategy, but the World Ender is more powerful than whatever you're doing. And so that's kind of like thing number 2 that I'm really excited about with this deck. Last but not least, we do have a lot of good usage out of both of these equipment, and the Darkened Aegis and the Darkened Spear. Steadfast Elkin is still absolutely nutsos in terms of shutting down the opposing early game aggression, even though that he's not very easily a 3/3 anymore with the Darkened Aegis. He does still do wonders in shutting down opposing aggression. And we just have this very nice, strong early game package between all of the equipment and then the Omen Hawk, Elkin, and Petricite Broadwing. And so, good stuff here. I'm excited with this. I hope you are too. Let's get ourselves into battle. But you know what we have to do before the battles begin. We got to go and pay the pay-to-win price, and it's time. It's time for our buddy Ranger Knight Defector. We're calling him the Night Ranger today. I'm never going to let that slip by. We can sing a little Sister Christian as we get these games going on. Y'all are probably too young for a little too young for Night Ranger. I'm a little bit too young. They were pretty popular back in the 80s, and so they kind of bled over into the 90s when my memories start to come in. But I guarantee you, you've probably heard a few of their songs, at least in movie soundtracks, and not realized it. And probably as your radio station kicks on the oldies. It's nice when songs are classified as oldies, as they've been a part of your life. But all right, on into battle. Seems like the sound's messed up. I was watching a bit of football and playing Runeterra yesterday. Had to get the sound turned down just a little bit, but here we go. Good to go. And so let's look for our early game stuff. Ideally, we would have a 1-drop in an equipment, but I'm not going to just like hard mulligan for that against the likes of what is probably an elite stack. And so the Vulpine Wanderer is a reasonable start just to make sure we have dudes to put on board. And let's see how this starts to curve out here in the early game. We got a cat hanging out too. She keeps digging her claws into me. She says, "What up, Internet? I'm Pepper. I like to hang out on occasion." And so here, I'm just going to bank the mana from the Elkin. Not getting this like 2 points of damage in on the first turn of the game is, okay, but not super appealing. I'm a little bit more interested in getting the Durandi Sculptor down, boosting the units that we have, and then potentially using this Inner Beast combat trick on our turn now. So we should be able to attack with both of our guys. I'm going to say we'll see who he adds. I'm okay with just kind of advertising that we have a combat trick here. Just go ahead and try and get this Cytherea off the board. We don't have a great way to deal with the Battlesmith, but this attack does look, kind of bonkers. It seems like he might be trying to get himself out of it. The thing that I was starting to think about after we just made that attack was maybe we should just be fish fighting down the Battlesmith. We had the 2/3 Vulpine Wanderer to potentially take it down, but didn't go for it, didn't do it. Seems like he might have a sharp side or something here to protect the Cytherea, and that's fine. He's not winning the combat, he's just not losing it. Beautiful. So we'll consider this fish fight next turn. I mean, maybe we should have gone for that. It's our units only getting +1 health, not nearly as good as our opponent's units getting 2 health on the matter, and so kind of awkward there, but is what it is. All right, well, let's get ourselves another trade in the combat here. If he's not... He didn't play the sharp sight last turn like we expected, and if he's not surviving that combat with it, I'm just going to assume he doesn't have it anymore. It makes a lot of sense that he just doesn't have it here. The Ranger Knight Defector is an interesting addition. I think we just want to come in and try and take down this Battlesmith, though. So let's go ahead and lead off with the fish fight. Go for the strikes. We're going to just keep falling further and further behind if we don't get in front of these +1/+1 bonuses. And now we have access to a thing. We didn't talk about the power that you get out of the stance swaps with the Ranger Knight, but this is another fantastic way to make usage of these. Now this is slightly awkward. We don't have a great way to deal with this board. I think we're going to be too slow to get our stances down, but as it is right now, I'm okay to just trade with these things. The question we have to worry about is is he going to have a Vanguard Bannerman as the kind of big boom into this board? I think we can be okay with that. The place we're hurting is our Ranger Knight doesn't have Champion Strength. I did not anticipate Champion Strength. That's bad. We are looking fairly dead now, but we might be able to survive this attack. Ooh. I've been kind of having the champion strength in the back of my head. It's another card that it seems like it should kind of like cycle back around into goodness with the new set of nerfs. But I always worry about you don't want to be playing champion strength against something like pirates, right? That's just kind of a miserable matchup. You don't have the time to just play 9-cost spells. You never have enough board to really take full advantage of it, and so we'll probably cycle back to it. We just play Demacia all the time anyways, right? Probably just cycle back. Alright, what have we got now? Leona and the Moon Boy. Sure. So much just like mid-rangey stuff this afternoon. This has been kind of surprising compared to what I've been playing against the past few days. All right, but reasonable enough start. We can hopefully get these broad wings going. Usually, I'm weirded out seeing both the Daybreak and the Nightfall stuff. It's just such a competing set of synergies. It's like he's not doing anything to help level up his Leona right now, and so these cards aren't that scary. Alright, let's come in for the big attack. He's up to some kind of shenanigan. I put the item on our our non-challenger. It's a bit unfortunate here, but we still get the good combat. It's just like he's up to something on that turn, right? And I feel like that was at least an okay outcome. Gonna kill you. Just that's not gonna stick around. Get out of here, Moon Boy. I'm curious what his play is. I would assume it's the 3 damage. It looks like that's what he's about to bring out. If he plays it on our Broadwing, we do have the Protective Inner Beast, and then that lets us look a little bit further into using things like the stance swaps, putting the +2 health regenerate stance onto our birds, a very powerful ability. Okay, I think we can take this damage. He's not gonna threaten lethal anytime soon. So this one bird still hasn't managed to get Challenger. It's a bit unfortunate for it, but we could probably make one good bird here and try and take advantage of this with the Broadwing. This doesn't really like strike me as a deck that's going to be playing Vengeance, and so I think it's probably okay to just stack up on a single Broadwing. I'm a little worried here about the likes of an Unspeakable Horror, so I'm just going to pass for the round. It doesn't feel worthwhile to kill Lunari Duskbringer just for the sake of getting that Unspeakable Horror on it. Right? It's not a very high-powered unit.
Our fate is in the mountain's wings.
Now we got some good combat bros, though. Oh, he is playing Vengeance. Interesting. Wow. That's still a fairly good trade. We've had no opportunities to use our Darkened Spear this game. He's completely shut that down, but everything else is going okay otherwise.
I see well enough to kill.
You cannot hold us down.
All right, I think we need just like a little bit more build up before, like, I don't like just adding all of these stats to the board at the moment, and so I think this is okay. We can just try and take advantage of these stance swaps, continue to strengthen up our bros. And we're really close to just throwing down the Anaka. I think that's probably what we're going to look towards next turn. And so with that in mind, like, how do we want to spend this mana? We could, like, just kind of go all in this turn and say Inner Beast our Hyala Allseer, and then look to Cataclysm the Ravoon. That does leave us at that spot we were worried about, to where it gets boomed by an Unspeakable Horror. But I think if we get the takedown on him, even if the Unspeakable Horror kills our unit, it's going to set him so far behind, like right before we start putting in Darken. You could have a Pale Cascade here as well, which would be kind of a pain in the dick, but looks like the danger's paying off. You know me, I love some good danger, you know? So give me some of that danger, please. That's what I'm signing up for. Ugh, okay. What's up, Darken? Ready to give you some overwhelm. Never mind. Never mind. Let's just get another one, right? Third bird. Dang. We drop in an Elkin, like, oh, it's not good in the face of the Sunhawk, I guess. Let's do this. I still worry just a little bit about a 1-mana combat trick coming through. So let's take down the 3-power one. So this is fine. There's no Celestials that you can play in the middle of combat. The Celestial cards don't have burst. Or fast. They're all slow in all units. Alright, not bad. You're still big, my friend. You're still big dude. They can't take that away from you. Here's a big boy. No denying that. We can still try and just hook him out of combat. He's not going to lethal us with the Great Beyond. Alright, so now we can hook everything out of combat. We have to worry like a little bit about a stun coming at us. That would be less than ideal. But let's see what we can do here. We get the Dum-Dum off of the board. One more unit capable of punching in. Don't think we're going to be making open attacks here. Or we're not going to be making scout attacks here. Alright, let's see if it's enough. And we get a fresh dude at the end, right? Why is our... Oh, do we not have the space on the board to put an additional attacker down? It should be, like, if you attack with Callista, it puts that unit on the end. That's weird. Alright, I'm going to push the button anyways, see what happens. There it goes. Another Ranger Knight. That was odd. Oh, Atrocity. Okay. I guess that should have been on our radar. We didn't have a way around that, but... Whew, okay. Good start for old Vayne Udyr today. That's wild. It's wild getting boomed like that. Like, what? I mean, what Shadow Isles cards was that deck even playing? Was just playing... I don't know. That was weird. I guess it is what it is. All right, next one though. Viego Gwen. Let's see. Hang on, we can hang on to the Wanderer. Let's get rid of the Ranger Knight. See if we can't find a little bit more early game stuff. It's tempting to not add the Vulpine Wanderer so that we can just like play the Darkened Spear onto Vayne, but we'll give it a bit of time. See if that turns into something we need to do. Another matchup though with all of the Hallowed units as to where the stance swap has some power. So how do we want to go about this? If we keep 2 mana banked up, we can go for the Ranger Knight Darkened Spear next turn. Is that going to be worthwhile enough? We aren't getting hit super hard right now. And I think it's okay. The opposing deck probably doesn't have a great answer to that. We're not taking a ton of damage here. Here's the fresh question, though. Would we rather just deal the 2 damage to the guy and then do a stance swap? Probably not. That seems a little greedy. We could do the 1 damage AoE to all of his 1 health units if we wanted to there, but he's already losing 1. Sure. All right, no Quietus. Good deal. We get a big collection of good attacks here. We can Cataclysm with our guy next turn if we want. Might be a little greedy. Might need to just say, let's slow this down just a little bit and see if we can't hit him with the Regenerate stance swap. I think opponent forgot about what Tough does. Happens. Dude, that big ol' Omen Hawk. Very juicy. Many stats on our friend there.
Pledge to the dark within.
Interesting. Maybe he'll Unspeakable Horror our Night Defector and see if see what happens again. Fereth, odd collection of cards coming out of here.
The Reaper will return.
It's interesting here. We could look to just kind of go all in. We do have this chance to say Inner Beast and Udyr, and then we can put the Overwhelm stance onto the Knight, but that's probably a little bit on the greedy end. We're really popping off with all of these bonuses, and it should be tough for him to manage all of our stats. Yeah. Sad day. You tried, my dude. You tried. So who do we want to go for now? We do have the gigantic Vayne. She's got +3/+3 at the moment. Otherwise, it's like, do we want to play Udyr? And he just seems like a little bit worse to me at this point. I like getting Vayne down. We can still condemn this turn if we want. I don't think we're going to condemn, but that option is there. And then a 3 bank on the turn should leave us in a pretty good space. Give us that chance to get down Udyr and start doing cataclysms and stuff if we want. No thanks. That was a timely fish fight. Interesting, just bringing it. This is going to be another game to where we just get KO'd by a KO'd by an atrocity. He at least doesn't have any board. So we're gonna have to get something going. We don't have the lethal this turn. But I mean, we can say like drop an Udyr and tumble him. Get a fresh stance out of that. And I think we want to just go ahead and give him Overwhelm. The idea that we're going to have with this turn is we're presenting a lethal now. We can open attack and try and get it. And then if he has a Vengeance or something, we can still potentially win with the tumbles and with the Overwhelm stances and the like. We got some opportunities. Sure. Quietus isn't that big of a deal. We've done the work with our Darkin. Even without playing the spear, he's gone hard today. He's gone hard. So this is a spot where like he needs the Vengeance. If he has the Vengeance, we can still hopefully win with the tumble. Hush. Who plays Hush? I haven't seen Hush in literal years. Literal years, not figurative years, literal ones. Alright, GG. He knows that tumble's on the way. But that was good. You got to see a lot of the synergies that we have out of these cards between putting the stances on the Ranger and putting the various strike cards and getting all those nice little synergies going. It's pretty good stuff. All right, well, maybe everybody in Masters got tired of playing. They got tired of playing with the pirates, and they moved on. This is one of these spots where it's tough. It's like I know in the last game and this game, I just sitting here thinking like how nice it would be to have just a 1-mana combat trick, but like we don't have the space to play catch. I think the inner beasts are just too important. And when you're not playing Aatrox with like 10 equipment in your deck, it starts to feel like if you're not having the opportunities to put equipment down, then it's just not nearly as good.
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men.
All right, though, so about to see something out of opponent. Avalanche is fine. No real worries there. This isn't the world's most important Vayne, so if he has to put a lot of work into taking her down, that's great. Doesn't appear to have a Vile Feast. That would have been closer to disaster mode. Like, actually losing out on the Vayne would have been a problem. Alright, so he's only got 1 mana. We know we should be safe to add in the Combat Cook now. And you got... I usually lean towards the Fearsome here. Like, we don't have a lot of challengers, and the opponent does tend to put down some, like, Vile Feast kind of units, and they'll put down the Faces of the Old Ones, the ramp unit. So it's kind of nice to be able to answer those. Avalanche number 2. Sure. So now our new question is, do we want to play Vayne, or do we want to try and protect the Broadwing? And I think I'm on board with just Vayne. She's going to present the most damage possible here. And now we're getting to a spot to where we can, you know, like we have units on board, we can kind of switch to playing stances. You know, we have to worry a little bit about things like the Ruination coming in. But we can do shenanigans this turn with the stances and the tumbles and the like. Interesting, do nothing. We can't just pass. It's one of these odd spots as to where it's like an attack feel or like adding cards, you know, feels like opponent's up to something. I feel like this may be a turn for the Ruination, but the thing that we're ultimately worried about here is something like Ruination, or if he brings in a like a harsh winds for next turn. So it's like I don't want to go into this upcoming turn without having any units to put on the board. But this is great now. We can get up to the 6.
Peace and quiet. This is our Vayne.
See if that's enough. I don't feel like this wins frequently, but it should protect us from a 8-drop guy that blows up all the landmarks, right? He has to come in and play Harsh Winds or do something here, so he's not going to have all the mana to take our units off of the board. Now, we do have another avenue for victory with this one. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the stance swap. The thing that we're able to do now is just like 2 damage of AoE with these stances. And so let's get in this extra point of damage. We're short of the lethal on this turn, but we can look towards it next turn.
Now that's a bit nice. A slight adjustment.
And we got all this stuff back. Maybe we'll just win with a tumble. You know, we got a couple different avenues to victory this round. Got a fresh equipment, though. The Shepherd's Authority, that's not what we initially started with. Alright, we're good. I will block your stuff. Check out that versatility. It's so sweet, Udyr. It's so nice of you to bring all these cool abilities to the board. So cool of you, my friend. Zing 'em. Mark it a W. Good stuff. Good stuff.
A sentinel's work is never done.
Whew. Sentinel's work is never done. You preach that story, Vayne. What do we got here? Oh, my boy, my dude. Father Mitch bringing out the Aurelian Soul ramp. I love it. I love everything that's about to happen here. And so with this, I don't remember how the Aurelian Soul, the Targon's Peak works with the Darken Aegis. That one's kind of tough. I wish like this hand just had like a little bit more raw power to it, but I think it's an okay keep. Now it looks better. The Ranger Knight does quite a bit of work. Whoa, what the fuck? Wow, we just got zinged. We got boomed. that was not on the agenda. What is this stuff? All these Daybreak cards with no...
All right, let's get to
Huh.
work.
Okay.
Scorching light.
Whatever we're in for.
A little reinforcement at the seams.
So that was an interesting addition with the Darkened Spear. What the fuck is this guy doing? Are these Daybreak guys here just to be defensive? That's so strange. But I'm at this point, it's like I want to get the Darkened Spear on, or the spear onto the Defector is the combat that we're looking for, and so we'll wait. We can do that 2 turns from now. It might be like too slow to be relevant, and so I worry about that just a little bit. But I mean, this is our biggest avenue for attacks, and so I think that's what we got to go for. What if instead of going for the Darkened Spear, we just go ahead and put Overwhelm onto the Defector? It's a little dangerous in the sense that if opponent has a like a Harsh Winds, we're just going to get blown up, and so I think we probably have to skip over that. I'm still just going to swing with everybody. I don't care about losing units at this point. We just have to do whatever we can to get the damage on board.
A little reinforcement at the seams. Where's my hammer?
stopped and thought about that one for a hot minute. Interesting.
The guilty were banned.
You cannot sway me. Fall, heretic!
I mean, that seems positive. I could still see him come at us with a harsh winds, but we're at least doing something. We're getting this board cleared out a little bit. Can't feel the rush next turn. I guess that's an important place for us to be in. Okay. Dang, I was really looking to put an overwhelm onto the defector, and then next turn have the Darken Aegis. It's like we don't quite have the mana next turn to do it all. Like if we want to condemn the Kindly Tavern Keeper, it's not going to see our second attack. That's painful. All right, let's just go ahead and get the dude down. It's going to be as mana efficient as we're going to get here. And of course Vayne. Of course Vayne turns up. Okay. We have to protect our guy at this point. It just... Man, it's like if he comes at us with Feel the Rush, we're just so boned. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. We're just going to have to switch and hope Vayne's able to get something done. And so he's going to have a giant unit this turn, and so... Let's see. We can at least clear out the remainder of the board that isn't Aurelian Soul. We'll just have to slam our Giral into him. I wonder if he's going to be wise to the fact he needs to be playing his Flash Freeze before combat begins. Alright, well here's a big damage. And so I kept the Darkened Spear back in hand. He's going to have trouble killing us with Aurelian Soul next turn. And so we might find ourselves in a spot to where we just try and win with the Anaka.
Now they'll pay attention. This'll take the chill off.
It'd be nice if this mana worked out just a little bit better. But how do we feel about tumbling in Vayne? Is that just too scary? He's probably not going to attack with Aurelian Soul at this point. Alright. Oh, has he got the... Okay, that thing. I was like, oh no, he's going to have Buried in the Ice. We can't do anything about Buried in the Ice, but this is manageable. There's a lot of bad cards to come out of the Invokes. Not even really guaranteed to find a 6-attack unit. It's probably a good chance of doing it, but if you roll really low with the spells, then you're not going to get that Aurelian Soul flip. And the Scourge. Fuck me. Oh, this has been a day, man. This has been a day. That's fucking brutal. It's like, that's literally the only Celestial that mattered, right? I mean, I guess he could have hit like a Supernova, and that would have been another problematic Celestial, but... these games today have been brutal. I mean, maybe we should have just tumbled the Vayne, but it's like if you tumble the Vayne and then he has a Harsh Winds or something, you just auto lose. Damn.
I do love an audience.
No overwhelms in here either. Alright, well let's see what we can do with the likes of Fish Fight and Condemn. you gotta go about this the hard way.
Daylight warms the heart and lights the way.
Yeah, we can't even do it with condemn.
Where's my hammer?
So here's what we need to have happen. We're going to attack. He's going to get some decent blocks. He can't block with the Scourge or it's just going to die. Then we're ideally going to be playing Fish Fight and Condemn. And then we can look to try and get a tumble victory. Looks like we're probably a little short of that, but we can at least ideally take down his Aurelion Soul.
It was my heart.
Oh my gosh. Okay. He's not even lethal anymore. God, this game has been brutal. Okay, GG. Man, it's just like, oh, to mess up the thing? Control Z that, maybe that fixed it. It's just been like such a weird set of games today. Like literally all I played against over the past few days was a variety of aggro decks, and just having this like really weird, shitty, rangy day turn up has been like so crazy to me. Like this is one of the reasons I don't like kind of like cherry picking the videos. I like to just kind of have like a straight shot of the games. I think it gives a much better kind of like feel for the things that you're running into, as opposed to me playing like 15 games and being like, here's a game of Pirates, and here's a game of Red Gwyn, and here's a game against Aatrox. Like I feel like this kind of format is just much more conducive to what you'll actually see in the real world. But man, these games like we've been playing today are just like nothing like I've seen since the patch came out. It's insane. All right, reasonable enough start though. We got our good friend Broadwing ready to go. It's quite strong against the likes of Ashe.
Them apart. Face me.
That's a pain point there, but at least it's a 2 mana for 2 mana trade. The downside to losing our bird here is the rest of our hand is kind of garbagey. Need to pick up some strength. It's one of those spots where it's like almost tempting to just pass the turn. Like we're not doing anything here. Our cards are all pretty bad. So would be nice. LeBlanc, I'm not super worried about. It would have been nice if we had an equipment to try and fish fight her down, but haven't picked any up.
Our eyes lead to hidden paths.
All right, let's see what shenanigan we run into now. It's bound to be one, right? That's that's all we've had today. Okay. I would assume there's no follow-up if he's just going to Ice Veil Archer our worst unit. That's kind of odd. So we did pick up our Aegis. It's going to let us start doing something good. It's okay to give all of our bros tough. They can't win all of these combats, but they can at least start to do something. Just continue to get out mid-range though. It's so strange. This has just been a day. All right, so the LeBlanc goes down. Still not a great board though.
Marks the path.
Yeah, I think this is where we're at. We just don't. We have to wear some of this down. If we just sit around and wait, he's gonna outvalue us with all the stats that he gets out of the Hearthguard. So we can at least like try and fish fight him down now. We still have some stances in hand, so maybe we can get a little bit of action going. But
The trap is set.
it's tough.
Hot on the trail.
It's tough, I tell you. All right, let's make a big boy. He paused on that one for a while. That's a little worrisome. Maybe he just has a calling strike in hand, but see what we can do. What up, Udyr? You're kind of interesting in that. Do we want to like drop the Udyr before combat so that we could potentially put a good stance onto the defector? We'll see. Let's see how much mana he spends now. We gotta have something positive happen out of this Udyr, though. Maybe we should have just taken the free stance and not, or taken the extra stance and not taken the mana bonus.
Line up.
All right. Well, we're just gonna continue to go for it here. If he has another flash freeze, then I mean, good job, I guess. It feels like he's kind of given up on the turn for these things to like. It should be tough for him to have a trick in hand. Like he can have a troll chant, I guess, but it feels like we should be getting a pretty good Udyr out of this round. Whispered words like. I saw the card move to the middle and was just like, oh fuck, what could this actually be? What are we really getting boomed by here? But all right, we're at least safe for the moment.
You earn the right to call
Oh my gosh, so much value. You got to get to punching, Bear Bro. This is a frightening round. It's just like he's drawn so many cards. It feels like we're just going to go into the next turn. What either is going to happen here is we're going to go to the next turn. We're going to attack. He's going to flash freeze both of our guys, or this turn he's just going to play Ash and OTK us. Like this is not feel like a real winner of a game. I guess Ash can't OTK us this turn, but we are just so super far behind.
Sigil shows them where their spells can help. All the world
There she is.
one arrow.
So as it stands, she will hit Udyr. I mean, we probably just have. I was hoping to put Overwhelm onto the Defector, but so what happens here if he attacks? We have to have we have to have more stats onto the Defector. Otherwise, we're just gonna like completely lose out to this board. Okay.
Evil slow them.
Oh shit, we should have blocked with Udyr. That was sloppy. It's like I started autopiloting this one. I know that the game is essentially done. But we should have definitely blocked with our giant our giant regenerating dude. And here comes the harsh winds. Sure.
The time is right. Strike now.
All right. GG. It's just a horrible matchup.
Next time, the weather will favor
All right, on to the next one. Nope. Where are we at? Here we go. So, all right, we've lost all the meager amounts of LP that we had. Maybe it was just because I was hanging around at like 100 LP, and that's the the kind of like difference maker is to like down here in the 0 LP, it's just a bunch of you kind of switch to just playing funsies decks if you're trying to sit down here at the bottom. And I mean, maybe that's just the difference was that set of 100 LP, but it's not really a great excuse. We should just be winning this games, but it's been a rough go for Udyr, and this has just been the most ridiculous collection of decks today. Seeing the, like, I don't know where like the Leona Felio stuff is coming from. If somebody posted a video or what the deal is, but it's just been so strange between what I saw in the previous days and what we're seeing now. All right, friends. Let's get these big boys on board, though. He should have a tough time handling our larger units in a combat this turn. If he just brings stuns, it's kind of fine. We should be getting good combats this round. Moonboy says what up. Okay, so assume he'll be taking down our Durandi Sculptor once he gets the chance to play his card. He's going to take 6 and Calibrum the Sculptor. And a bit of a bummer, Defector. He's got the bonus stats, which is fantastic, but we haven't hit an equipment yet. Sure. So let's see. We shouldn't have to worry too much about Aphelios on this upcoming turn. It's just pretty tough to play 2 spells and get a moon weapon, and so we might be able to just take him down. And now things are starting to turn around. The addition of the Aegis lets us fish fight Aphelios away, then have the scouting Defector next turn. Feel like you're probably gonna regret that play. It feels like the kind of play you'll probably regret. He's trying to spend the mana to get his Aphelios online. Like, this might just be a second Quietus. We might be the ones being kind of upset about it, but interesting. And he goes for Severum. So here's where like the full like game ender can come in. Like, I don't care about him gaining the health, but it's like if we play the fish fight this turn and then he's able to like Pale Cascade through it, and we're just gonna be so boned. So let's get our Defector down. He should be pretty good in this space. We've got the tumble cheapening away. We should have a good tumble around a few turns from now. So weird. All right, well, we've already got the tumble. Like, that's all I really want out of this Vayne. I would assume that this just means he has another Aphelios in hand, but that feels like a just absolutely gigantic waste of a card.
The dawn has arrived.
Okay.
Glorious light rains down.
She's not anywhere even near flipping. All right, let's just let that go. All the fish fights. And Ravoon. So we don't have to worry about that Gravitum coming onto Leona and then Leona doing a attack into the Defector. Seems pretty decent. Gotta get these fish fights going. So it should be a good one this turn. It looks like he wanted to attack with his... It looked like he wanted to attack with his Ravoon. He pulled it back. That's okay. He might bring it in now that the coast looks a little bit more clear in terms of what's actually on the board. We could technically take him down. We can go for a stance swap onto the Ravoon. It just doesn't feel particularly necessary. Let's just load up Udyr and see what happens next turn. Like, if it really comes down to it, we can do stuff like fish fight onto a smaller unit to put a stance in hand and then boost the Ranger Defector. Still don't think we're going to do it, but our attacks look a lot better now with the second one.
The power of the immortal sun. Sunlight blinds.
All right, well, we can continue this song and dance, I guess. Let's just send another strike at Leona. Do we ever want to give up on our Udyr here? I mean, this is such an interesting spot, and being able to, we can, you know, fish fight down the Spiderling and then put a better thing onto. I think that's where we stand. So now we'll get the free stance. We can put the stance onto the Defector, make him a 7/6. And then the opposing blocks just aren't very good. Wow, you bringing it, dude. You bringing it. Sure. All right, so this will almost certainly be a tumble turn. We got to tumble one of these defectors to get the scout. And oh, another Vayne. Too bad we don't have the mana to double tumble, but this is gonna be good. All right, Ravoon eliminated. We still got more attacks on the ready. Surprised Vayne's not like an 8/8 or something now. It feels like we've done a ton of stat boosting and it didn't quite come through. All right, we got him. GG. So that was odd. I mean, just seeing him, like, I guess there's some argument to just like seeing that tumble mana continue to like count down and down and down. That just feels like a really strange way to throw away your Aphelios. Like I don't feel like I don't know if we should have like won or lost that game, but it doesn't feel like that's the way to really go about it. All right, last set of battles up against the old Action Varus. Another deck I'm kind of interested in playing a little bit. I think that just another deck to where the Defector has a chance to shine. You get to use the Swinging Glaive with the Defectors and get those multiple lucky finds into your hand. It's probably the deck we'll look to play in our next video, actually, but it's interesting stuff. The deck, it runs into kind of a similar problem that we have here with this one, as to where when you're not playing 10 equipment, it can be kind of hard to hit your equipment in time for the Defector, but you know, he's still been doing his thing. All right, opponent goes no Darken. That typically means Action's about to turn up. I'm curious to see if this leftmost card coming out of his hand is going to be Action. I missed where it came from, but usually what you're running into in these spots. Okay. All right, on with Vayne. Look at that big curve. We hit the Defector. He doesn't have Scout yet, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with a 5/4 tough for 4 mana. He does quite a bit of work. So I'm going to go ahead and swing it. If he has a what you call it, a Shaped Stone to take down our Vayne, I'm kind of okay with it at this point. You know, ideally our Vayne would get to stick around, but if we can soak away some of his mana and just slow down whatever he's trying to do, it makes me feel a little bit safer, a little bit better. Yeah, my dude's so much bigger than yours. Do you really want to party? Do you want to bang, bro? It's probably not what we're supposed to be asking Kevin LOR. We shouldn't be asking Kevin LOR if he wants to bang, but We're asking the real questions, asking the good questions, you know. You want to bang, bro? Welcome to the FTP Bus channel. We make videos and stuff. All right, let's see where we're at now, though. It's like I don't want to get too involved with this Udyr. Just having these bigger plays on board scares me a little bit, and it's nice to just bank up a touch of mana. So I'm fine to just bank up 3 and then play the All-Seer next turn. Opponent's attacks aren't super scary. If we get to trade our Defector for his Defector, it's not that bad. This isn't even big enough to trade in, but he's got the equipments and stuff. Action number 2. Alright, let's do stuff with the stances. How big is this guy now? He's only got 5 health, and he's running out of cards here. Trying to determine what we want to do. I think it's like, with opponent having the amount of mana that they do, like, I think the only card we have to worry about is a Merciless Hunter. I wouldn't be surprised if we put a boar stance onto our Defector if he just has to pass. Let's see what happens. It sucks to be like a little preemptive with this, and he has the full knowledge, but I like having the unit that's big enough to get in front of his Defector and win. The downside to going with this play is if he has the Shaped Stone, then we're going to have to play a combat trick to try and get out of this combat. Interesting. Alright, you boost up that action.
We love it when they run.
Alright, well, you fought hard, Defector. I figured there was some kind of shenanigan, but that was too much to... Can't just, like, let him attack twice with the glaive guy and just let him do it.
I still see fate here for you.
Alright, so where are we at now? No equipment still. Kind of a pain, but the Elkin isn't really like the biggest bro we have anyways. So I think we want to stance swap first. Let's load up the boar stance on our guy. We're going to need him for some blocking here soon. And then we can look to play Udyr and get the fresh stance. Not going to be attacking into this board, but we gotta start building up a little bit. Getting our values where we can. Okay.
Magic to spread around.
Alright, here comes the scary stuff from opponent. Glaive number 2. He gets the flip onto Varus. We have the Condemn in hand. The scary thing with Condemn is that if he has the Spell Shield card, like I don't think we can play around the Spell Shield card though. Does Broadwing even do anything here? I don't think so. Let's add in Vayne. She's not really that big either. This Udyr is pretty big though. I'll give him that. It says, look at me do bear stuff. The thing with this deck, I'm not sure if the opposing deck plays Quicksand. I don't think it does. But Quicksand can be kind of annoying here. If you take a bunch of damage on your units and then they get shrunk in terms of stats, and then you roll into the next turn and they lose out on their heal. Oh, he goes for the vulnerable one. He's gonna. This just thought he tapped down to 2 mana after playing that. This is. Oh, that's the free unit. I thought I saw his mana go down. That's weird.
Those who kill innocents are no more than fiends.
Okay. So this is where we're at. Everybody's got the old vulnerable. Nothing we can do about that, but he shouldn't be able to lethal us this turn. Even through... I'm surprised he's not hooking something into Varus, just because he does so much damage, but I don't think he can... Like, this collection he's got right here isn't lethal.
Full of fear. Very well.
Alright, let's see if we can't get that takedown. See, I mean, if we make it out of this turn, we should be okay, right? He's going to get a lucky find. Just if he has the spell shield on Varus, that's a real problem. Gotta check and see if he's playing Sivir. He is playing Sivir. Very common to play 1 copy, but I would think if he had it, though, he would have just snapped it off. Like, this doesn't seem like the kind of spot to where you really want to be losing your Varus, right? He seems pretty good here, if you ask me. Okay. So we do lose some stuff. Our Vayne goes, he gets some bonuses out of action, but we made it to that point. That's good. So now we can look to overwhelm stance our Udyr, and then start in with the attacks next turn. The scary thing with this is a card like Grappling Hook, right? If he has the 3rd copy of action, then we do have to worry about that a little bit, but if we get to roll into the next turn, I think we're going to be okay. All right, everybody heals up. Everybody gets into combat. Do we need the extra point from the inner beast? Let's just let this combat end and see if he'll spend some mana. I mean, we can make a very large Udyr, right? We can continue on with the stance swap to give him like plus 100, and then try and get this with the tumble. Yeah, you're so much bigger than Zolani. I think he's gonna stay out of range of the strikes. Like, a strike is still a potential card here, but I'm going all in. Watch us make all this investment in Udyr, and then I don't think this deck plays Rite of Negation. Maybe it does. I don't know, but something to worry about, I guess. He's only got 2 mana at this point, so I think we're safe. Look at that. Get in there, bear, bro. Woof. Woof. GG. And so, wow, interesting set of games. Again, like, it makes me sound like a dum-dum when you make that kind of big intro and you talk about, like, the decks that are really popular these days in Masters. Like, I don't know if it's, again, because, like, we dropped a few ranks sitting around, like, once you're into, like, the 100 LP kind of range, it's like, well, you've won, like, 10 games more than you've lost in, like, the Masters ranks. And so you're kind of, like, separating yourself out from that kind of dumpster region. We called it Dumpster Legend in Hearthstone. It's probably not an appropriate name to use. But as you're in that kind of, like, 100 LP space, that's where you start to be like, well, once we get up into around 200 LP, that's where you just qualify for seasonals. And so you tend to run into a lot more real decks as opposed to the stuff that we saw in this video. And that's kind of like odd and awkward. Like there was so much just like Leona Aphelios. I don't know where that shit's coming from. It just sounds terrible. And like it's one of those things to where like I struggle a little bit in terms of like, is this really a useful and worthwhile video when you play against that? And it's like, well, if you're running through the normals, that's something that you might see. Like this is typically something you would see if like Mega Mogwai posted a video and people would play with whatever his deck was for a day or two. But it's just so strange that the lack of aggressive decks, because that is just like what is most certainly at the top of the meta right now, or at least running through the weekend. That's what we were seeing as the big ones. And so, nonetheless, we did get to pull off a lot of the synergies with this. You can see a lot of the really powerful things that you're able to do with this deck. The really nice combos between all of the equipment, and then the cycles between the Night Ranger Defector getting boosted with the stance swaps, and just like a lot of really nice and strong combos in here. The just a lot of excuse me, like really strong cycles between putting the equipment on the broad wings and then getting the equipment on the Defector, but then also getting the stance swaps across those units. Putting this stuff on Udyr works nicely as well. Giving Udyr tough is nice if he's getting into battle with the strikes, and then having all of the fish fights, cataclysms, and condemns to work with Udyr as well, giving him additional strikes. It's like a lot of really nice and interesting combos that can kind of piece itself out of this deck. And so there is some power here. The stuff we ran into today is not ideal for what we're doing here, right? This is a deck to where you can combat like some mid-rangey stuff, but if you want to like ask yourself, basically you're going to ask yourself the question, like, could this deck beat Aatrox? And the answer is no. This is a horrifically bad deck to be running up against Aatrox. And that was kind of the similar things that we are seeing today. It's like as you run into like Aphelios and Leona and the like, they aren't slow enough to be like really considered control decks. Those are decks that should just be getting murdered by things like Trundlemere, but they're like slower than our mid-range deck, which is going to give them an advantage in the mid-range mirror match. And so it was kind of odd to see all that stuff come up. It's just not what this deck wants to face, and not what I was really expecting to have come out of this meta. We're looking for much more mid-rangey style of space, or much more aggressive style of spaces. But nonetheless, it's kind of an interesting idea, an interesting thought. Again, we're probably going to be cruising along with the Ranger Knight Defector over the next few videos. I think this is the card I really like to investigate as seasonals starts to come upon us. I think there's some interesting things with this in the likes of Scouts. I've been thinking of kind of going back to Scouts with the kind of attune version that we used to run with the Riptide Sermons and the like. I think there might be something interesting there. There's always the potential for interesting with something like Alawi. And then as we look towards things like, I still like have in my head that I've been playing a lot of Aatrox Kane, which is still a very real deck, and I'm kind of considering looking at some action Varus like we saw in that last match as well. I just think of all the really like high-powered cards to come out of the most recent sets. Night Ranger Defector is the only one that hasn't really been nerfed, and it probably deserves to be nerfed a little bit. And so just so good with the scout and the equipment and the interactions that you get with things like Tumble and Cataclysm, so he's getting additional attacks on the opposing turn, just does everything. And as we kind of like saw in that last game as well, just saying, well, I've got a 4-3 for 4 with Tough. That's a pretty good deal against a lot of the meta. And so we'll be seeing, we're going to do some battle with him and see how it goes. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for us for our video today. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.